And this morning we have the privilege of being joined by Dale Campbell from the Auckland Church Network to talk more about this. So good morning, Dale.
Good morning, kia ora.
So let's first of all take a look at the Sermon on the Mount, right? Because in this sermon, Jesus unpacks a lot about how we're supposed to relate to God, but then also how we're supposed to relate to the rest of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love this. I love the book of Matthew. I love the Bible. Like the Sermon on the Mount has everything that we need in it, really. And when you think about the end of Matthew's gospel, he gives this great visionary statement: "Go and make disciples, all nations."
The Great Commission.
It's a multicultural plan. It's all nations. This will work in any culture.
Yeah.
Right? You translate this into any culture. And it's also presence-driven. I'm with you to the end of the age. And he gives us an initiation ritual, baptism, and he gives us a formational strategy. Teach them to obey the things that I have commanded you. Okay? And that's the Sermon on the Mount. It gets encapsulated in the Sermon on the Mount. So everything that he's teaching us it's practical human stuff, how to be a human God's way.
So why does this come to mind at Christmas time for you?
Oh, wow. Christmas time. Well, look, Christ has come. I mean, at the beginning of Matthew's gospel, he talks about God with us, right? And we've just remembered that. He's with us to the end of the age as we do this discipleship work. But God is with us to make us human. He becomes human to make us human. That's why it comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting idea too, isn't it? That when you consider how God created us and what the fall did in all of our lives.
Totally.
And then you see this restorative thing that Jesus was doing, that we're really becoming more of who we are supposed to be this whole time. I mean, I've heard people say, like, Jesus was the most human anyone's ever been because he really is man as God created in perfect relationship with the Father.
That's right. That's right. He literally shows us what God is like, and he shows us what it's like to be human. Not just showing us, but teaching us, forming us so that we can actually be righteous.
And he gave us hope because, if we're just human in our own humanity without the hope of Christ, it's a fallen version of it. It's not a great version of humanity without Jesus, right?
That's right. And that hope is not just about hope after I die.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't just come, believe some stuff in your mind, and then live however you want, and then you'll go to heaven after you die.
Yeah.
It's also not the other extreme. Be really good enough, and then you can go to heaven.
Yeah, you can't earn your salvation.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a gift.
It's interesting too, because, he talks about this idea of, teach people, to follow these principles that I've given you.
Yeah.
But the trap can be to think, so we've got the new set of rules.
Yes.
It's like, there was an old set of rules, but now we've got the new set of rules.
Yeah.
Whereas fundamentally, he teaches us to rely first and foremost on who he is. That's the principle.
You do get this really interesting, I like simple theology, right?
Yeah, good.
Like I studied theology, but I like to make it simple for me so I can do it, right?
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. You get this big debate around the role of the law in the New Testament. Is it just kind of swept aside? Or is Jesus giving us a new law like you were talking about? He seems to be, he says, I've come to fulfill the law, right? Matthew 5, Sermon on the Mount. But it's like he wants our hearts to be right so that we can be the lawful, loving. He wants us to get what the law was really always all about.
And actually, I'm reminded that he breaks it down really simply.
Yeah.
To love God and love people.
That's
and
right.
if we can get that in our hearts, right, it'll change
right.
the whole way we live our lives. And I think it's really cool that at Christmas time, we have this reminder, Christmas, of Jesus coming to bring that hope and to help us live in our full humanity as we're supposed to and extend that love and generosity and kindness to others. Like there's a real opportunity, right, at this time of the year.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we're around people, sometimes we're around family, and we don't always... Sometimes you have more conflict with people that are more like you and closer to you than complete strangers.
Especially if they don't believe the same things as well, right?
Totally. So we have all the opportunity in the world to practice being human, right?
Yeah.
Treating others as equals, getting over our anger and various issues, right? And the Sermon on the Mount is jam-packed with tools to do this practical righteousness.
Yeah. So what's one thing in particular then as we bring these discussions to a close at the end of this week? We've been journeying towards Jesus. We've now been given this commission. What's the thing that's really on your heart as we maybe even head into 2025?
Look, I'm the prayer leader at Auckland Church Network, right? And a lot of my professional sort of working life is around prayer, but it has to be personal as well. And the very center of this mountain, right? The summit of the Sermon on the Mount is literally shaped like a mountain, and at the summit of it is the Lord's Prayer. And I think this, and I've heard it said somewhere, it sounds right. You could Google it to find if it's actually right, but this sounds true, that the Lord's Prayer is the most recited set of words in humanity.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Wouldn't surprise me, right?
Yeah.
You think about how many people are saying that every day.
Yeah.
And
All
so,
right?
like,
many times a day.
This Christmas, we should really get back to the focus and just bring that home.
Because all of the teaching that Jesus gives us to become human is encapsulated not only in the Sermon on the Mount, 3 chapters, 5, 6, and 7, but it's also compressed poetically and beautifully in the Lord's Prayer. So it's just amazing.
So we wish everybody a very prayerful Christmas this year.
Yeah.
And Dale, we just want to thank you once again, not only for today, but just throughout the course of the year as well, being our guest, being our friend, and being such a blessing to our listeners too.
Well, can I thank you guys? Because I say to you off air sometimes that these shows are a ministry. They're reaching out and just being friendly, being human, opening the scriptures for your listeners. So thank you for what you do.
Well, thank you so much, Dale, and have a Merry Christmas.
Kia ora.
Amazing. I hope you enjoyed that as much as we did.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and turn your notifications on so you don't miss the next video.
We'll see you in the next one.